Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most beneficent. Today's topic is phrasal verbs, and this is for class 10th. Okay, what are these phrasal verbs? By the name, you can understand that what are phrases and verbs. So, phrasal verbs are phrases that indicate actions. They are generally used in spoken English and informal text. Examples of such verbs include turn down, come across, and run into. As all of you come across with these sort of words in your English books or in any English writing piece, you come across with these words, the combination of two words or combination of three words, but the idiomatic meanings of these words are different from any traditional meaning. So these are called phrasal verbs, and these are mostly used in informal texts. These phrasal verb is a combination of a verb and one or two other particles, and these particles are either preposition or adverb both. This is the combination of both adverb and preposition. So the phrasal verb has a meaning that is different from the meaning of its original verb. Verbs have different meanings, so when the verb is using here and it's combined with the preposition, it get different meaning. A phrasal verb has a verb and words such as on, up, in, out, over, off, with, down, away, about, after. A phrasal verb may consist of two words or three words. So you normally have seen this practice. All these are prepositions, but when we combine our adverbs and prepositions, so they can make phrasal verbs. There are four types of phrasal verbs: transitive phrasal verbs, intransitive phrasal verbs, separable phrasal verbs, and inseparable phrasal verbs. First of all, transitive phrasal verbs. As you all know that transitive or transition is a device that can need an object before it to perform an action over it. But here, phrasal verbs which require an object in sentence are called transitive phrasal verb. Without an object, a sentence having phrasal verb cannot make a complete sentence. There are some transitive phrasal verbs that need, like verbs, they need the object before it to perform an action over it. If there is not an object, so the phrasal verb cannot be able to complete its meaning. The following sentences having the object as underlined expresses complete meaning. Without these objects, the sentences cannot express a complete meaning or sense. So let's have a look at about these examples or these phrasal verbs. The first example is she look after the child. She looks after. She looks after does not give any meaning. So she looks after the child gives the complete meaning. The child is a transition or an object here. So she applies look after over the child. So this is a transitional verb. They carried on their work. The flood brought about a huge disaster. They have called off the meeting. Please switch on the lights. He's trying to give up smoking and she turned down his proposals. All these highlighted in red are the phrasal verbs, and the underlined words are their object, so they perform their action over it. Now the intransitive phrasal verbs. There are intransitive verbs, so intransitive phrasal verbs are also there. Phrasal verbs which do not require an object in the sentence are called intransitive phrasal verbs. Means these phrasal verbs can be able to perform its own actions, so they don't need any object. Without an object, a sentence having a phrasal verb can make a complete sentence. The following sentences do not have an object in them, but still the sentence expresses complete meaning. The examples here are the patient passed away. Here the meaning is passed away, that he's died. The patient died. So when do you get up? The get up is when you are getting up in the morning out of your sleep. So the thief ran away. The kid is growing up, and the car broken down. All these phrasal verbs do not need any object before it. So these are called intransitive phrasal verbs. Now there are separable phrasal verbs. There are the phrasal verbs whose words can be separated for using in different places in a sentences. its verbs and prepositions can be separated. Such phrasal verbs can be used as in joint form as well as in separable form. You can understand this by looking at your examples. In first example, you can see that please turn on the light, and in the second example, you can see that please turn the light on. So these are separable. Turn and on is used at different places, so turn on is a separable phrasal verb. I will pick up you from the bus stop. I will pick you up from the bus stop. Now you can separate phrasal verb here, so it's also separable phrasal verb. The people requested to cut down the prices. The people requested to cut the prices down. Here you can see in a second example that this phrasal verb is also separable. Now there are category of non-separable phrasal verbs. These are the phrasal verbs whose words cannot be separated for using it in different places in a sentence. Its verbs and preposition cannot be separated, they remain together, and if we separate them, that cannot give the proper meaning. She looked after her children. She looked after children gives the wrong meaning, so this is the proper way to define it. The patient passed away. The flood brought about a huge disaster. You should stay away from bad friends. A thief ran away. He is trying to give up smoking, and they carried on their work. So all these intransitive verbs are inseparable, and if you separate them, they cannot implement the whole idea or the meaning. Okay, the meaning of phrasal verbs. Sometimes it is difficult to understand the meaning of phrasal verb before looking them up in a dictionary. So it would be helpful to use context to understand them. So if we are reading these phrasal verb in any of a sentence or in any of the paragraph, normally we do not know the meaning of these phrasal verbs because they don't have any literal meanings. They are not giving literal meaning to us, so we can use the context for understanding this, how it is fit to our sentence, so we can find out the meaning through this. But there are literal meaning of these phrasal verbs. Some phrasal verbs have literal meaning, they can easily be understood. And phrasal verbs can also have a figurative or idiomatic meanings, which make them difficult to understand. When they have, when these phrasal verbs have literal meaning, so it is somehow easy for us to understand those things. That she opened the door and looked outside. She was walking across the street when she heard the sound of an explosion. Here you can easily understand the meaning of these phrasal verbs. Looked outside and walking across, etc. But when you are coming to the idiomatic meaning, it is somehow difficult for all of us to understand or to dig about those meanings. So can you put me up for tonight? Now you don't know that what is the meaning for by put me up. The phrasal verb put up here does not mean to build. As in putting a fence up, it has, however, an idiomatic figurative meaning. It means to let someone stay in your house. Okay, phrasal verbs can be formed in different ways. There are the composition of two, there are composition of three. So phrasal verb consists of a verb and preposition or an adverb. One is a preposition and another is an adverb. So first of all, verb and preposition. Get up, go through, write down, take after. So one is a preposition and another is verb. So and a preposition or an adverb. So this is a combination of two, like get up, go through, write down, take after, etc. But some phrasal verb consist of three elements, like verb, preposition or adverb 1 and preposition on adverb 2. Look forward to, put up with, sit in for, and these can be combined with three elements. When added to the verb, the preposition or adverb may change completely the meaning of verb. Here are some examples. Now at the end, you are given with an example that how it works, that phrasal verb, its meaning and its example, and same we are in need of for our examination purpose. That look for is search or seek. He is looking for his keys. Look up to, have a great deal or respect for a person. His father in his model, He is the person he looks up to, look forward to, await eagerly, or anticipate with pleasure. She is looking forward to visiting Paris and look up to try to find a piece of information by looking in a book or in a computer. She didn't understand the word, so she looked it up in her dictionary. So, dear students, you have seen in all these slides that these are different and somehow difficult to understand, but we can remember all those things because we have a list of these phrasal verbs. But first we need to understand that how it works and what is the composition of these phrasal verbs and how important these are, what meanings this conveys, and how we can differentiate the categories or the kinds of these phrasal verbs. And in our coming lecture, inshallah, I will give you the series of these phrasal verbs and their meanings, and then we will be able to make sentences out of those. Thank you so much.